Today on the Matt and Ant Show, we welcome longtime announcer of the Philadelphia Flyers and former announcer of the Phillies, Jim Jackson. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Great to be here, Matt.
Let's get right into it. How'd you get into broadcasting?
It's a long and sordid tale, Matt, but just the abridged version of it is that I grew up in upstate New York, a small town called New York Mills, New York, graduating class of 73 people. So it was a really small school and about an hour or so from Syracuse. And I didn't really, I had dreams of being involved in sports and being a broadcaster, but I didn't know as if it would ever come true. So you're basically looking at somebody who's living a dream, because what I did was, once I decided I couldn't make it as an athlete, which was pretty early on, I then wanted to make it as a broadcaster. Syracuse became the goal. Got my grades up, got into Syracuse, which is a great broadcasting school. And from there, my ambition and drive just, took off. And I was able to do football, basketball, lacrosse, talk shows, sportscasts, TV, news, whatever. I did so much stuff at Syracuse. It was awesome. When I graduated, I went back to my hometown, which is near Utica. There's a station there, WIBX, which is a news talk sports. And I basically had no job. So I just went to them and said, "Hey, can I hang around for a month? I'll do whatever you want. No, you don't have to pay me or whatever." And I'll just, and they said, "Sure." I mean, I was a Syracuse grad. I was local. So, and they let me do that. And gradually over the course of the month, I started doing a little bit more, and they let me start to ride the board and kind of, they call it producing shows, but basically I was just riding the board. And my very first job in commercial broadcasting, I was the producer, if you will, of the Polish Radio Hour with Maria Kowalski, a lovely lady who I didn't understand a word she said, but when she pointed, I played the polka, and I was the producer. So that was my very first show, and that job, seriously, that job is why I've been doing these guys. Let's point at these guys for now. This will be my 30th year coming up, because while I was doing that, I noticed on the weekends this News Talk sports station played just music around their sporting events that they aired, which made no sense to me. It was not consistent with what they did during the week. So here I am, 22-year-old, just out of college, and I put together a written proposal to give to the general manager, program director, news director, and sports director to say, "Hey, why don't we do sports talk around all your sporting events on the weekend? And better yet, you've got a host. I can do it." And they went for it. So I basically created my own job. I also destroyed my social life. It was noon to midnight on Saturday and Sunday, which was 24 hours. Then they gave me 16 more hours to make me full time. I was like, helping out with the talk show during the week, and also the news department. So I was on cloud nine. I was just out of college and I had a full-time job. 6 months after that, the sports director left to go to take a job in Birmingham, Alabama. More on him in a second. And so I got promoted to sports director. So now I'm 23, just turned 23, and I'm doing high school football, New York Penn League baseball, ACHL hockey, low-level minor league hockey, Division I college basketball. Utica College was Division I back then under Larry Costello, all at 23, and I just dove into it. And about 9 months after that, the New Jersey Devils decided to move their AHL farm team from Portland, Maine to Utica, New York, and we got the rights. So now I'm 24 and I'm doing AHL hockey. I'm one step below the NHL. I did 6 years of Utica Devils hockey, every single game they played. And just after I turned 30, and about a year and a half after I got married, the Devils decided to leave town, and they weren't taking anybody with them. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm at a crossroads. I had actually moved stations. The rights had switched about 3 years after the Devils had come to the town, and I was selling radio in order to keep doing the games, which I didn't like, but I had to do it. My option, obviously, if I didn't keep up with the sports broadcasting at that time, was to go into sales, which I would have been miserable. So I, basically didn't know what to do. I'd sent tapes out to the two expansion teams that year in Florida and Anaheim. And I was on the bus on the way home after we got eliminated from the playoffs, our last year with the Utica Devils. The coach's name was Robbie Fatorik. And he was having all the players come up and sit with him on the bus and going over their regimen for the summer, their workout routine, what they were going to do and all that. And he got done a little early. So he looks at me and says, "Come on over here." No, I didn't even work for the team, but he's kind of a friend. So he says, "So what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, rumor has it that you guys are leaving town." And he kind of just agreed, shook his head, looks that way. I said, "Well, I'm sending out tapes. I sent out tapes to the 2 expansion teams, and I'll look for other opportunities." And he said, "What about the other teams?" I guess back then there were 22 other teams. He said, "What about the other teams?" And I said, "Well, if I hear of openings, I'll send stuff." But he goes, "Send it now. Get it in their hands now." And I said, "Most of that stuff ends up in the circular file. It ends up never being seen, never seeing the light of day." He goes, "Perhaps, but you never know." And I fought him on it, but when I got home, I figured I might as well do it. So I made 22 dubs of my audition tape, which back then it wasn't like just having a link, putting it in an email. It was making a physical audio tape and snail mailing it to all these things. So I had to listen to myself way too much. But anyhow, I got them done, sent them out. About 2 months later, the Ducks, the tape that I had already sent out, call me and say I'm in the final running for the radio job, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim officially back then. And I was like, "Great, this is awesome." And I was negotiating, got down to, it was me and one other guy. Then it got down to, it was my job.
Yeah.
They didn't sign me though. They said, we'll work out the contract. And while we were working out the contract, I was actually working for the Utica Bulldogs of the Colonial Hockey League. It might have been the United Hockey League, actually, really low level hockey back then. And I was going to make like $15,000. I was only doing it to get through the summer and then into that first year. And then I would have to find some way to make more money. But I was in the office and I was on the phone with Ken Wilson from the Mighty Ducks, actually. And we were talking about getting me out there, the contract and all that. And she comes in and puts on my desk, Mark Piazza, Philadelphia Flyers on line 2. And I'm like, "Wait, what does the Flyers want?" So I wrapped up my conversation with Ken Wilson and I picked it up and I said hello and said, "Hey, Jim, this is Mark Piazza, Director of Communications Vice President for the Flyers. How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great. What can I do for you?" He said, "Well, we're making some changes in our broadcast department. Gene Hart's going back to television. Mike Emmerich has left. And so we need a radio announcer. We really like your tape. So Robbie Fatorik, thank you very much," because I would not have sent that tape. Nobody knew there was an opening with the Flyers, but that tape that I had sent out did not go to the circular file, was heard, and got me the job that I've now had for 3 decades. So living proof that can work. And also, they whisked me down for an interview. They had a contract on the fax machine when I got back from the interview. They clearly wanted me, and it was closer to home. And Eric Lindros was just starting with the Flyers, so you knew they were going to win a cup before the Mighty Ducks were going to win a cup. Wrong. But anyhow, bottom line is, very happy I made that choice. And did 2 years of radio. Then Gene retired, and I followed him into the booth. Didn't replace him. Followed him into the booth, and this will be my 28th year of television, 27th season, because we did lose the one season. But I have had a ball. I live my dream every single day. There's a game. My feet hit the ground in the morning. I know it's going to be a good day, win or lose. It's just so much fun to call a game. So, and as you know, in the interim, 2007, I started working for the Phillies. David Montgomery and I had been meeting, and he finally said, "I've got a job for you if you want it." And I took it, and I have a big ring, couple of rings, actually. One's a championship series ring, one's a World Series ring. And 14 years of great memories there. That stopped in 2020, but it was a great run. So I'm blessed. I've done what I wanted to do since I was a little kid. And I urge anyone out there to find a passion, a legal passion, make some money off of it, and you'll be a much happier person, because you never work. I haven't worked a day in my life. Well, I worked when I was selling, but doing games, anytime I'm doing a game, it doesn't feel like work. Anytime I'm preparing for a game, it doesn't really feel like work. So I'm blessed. What can I tell you?
You were just saying you were with the Flyers for 3 decades. Do you have a favorite call from those 3 decades?
Yeah, I have a lot of them. It's tough to pick one. I mean, I guess if I have to pick one, I go back to the Keith Primo goal in 2000, because that was history. That was not only Flyers history, it was NHL history. Longest game still in the modern history of the NHL since forward passing has been allowed. And so to be part of that is cool. And to have it be against the Penguins, top rival, and have it be a great goal by Keith Primo, and they go on and win that series. I mean, if they go on and win the cup, it would have been epic.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, it's that one. But there were some others. Jeremy Roenick's goal in 2004 against the Leafs, which got them into the conference finals after the Sammy Kapanen thing, all in the same shift, was unbelievable. And then 2010, the shootout with the Rangers, which was incredible. And then coming back and beating Boston that year, being able to call Game 7 when the Flyers fell down 3-0 in the game and came back to win. So those are all great moments from an historic standpoint, from an excitement level. But there have been so many others, Matt. I mean, during regular season play, Claude Giroux, over his long stint with the Flyers, gave me so many great moments too. And so it's tough to pick one. But if I had to pick one, it's probably still Preem's goal in that game, because it was NHL history, and it still is. And so to be part of that was an honor.
What are your thoughts of Claude going to Ottawa? He's going home now. I know he's always wanted to go back to Ottawa at some point in his career, so now it's officially happening.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I think his family wanted to go back there as much as he did, and so it's a good landing spot for him. And he's there as they seem to be getting better.
Yeah.
I know they went out and got to Brinket too, so and they already have some really good building blocks. If they can get the goaltending, so that's a good spot for Claude. I mean, he can still play. Showed everybody that. Some of the negativity around him when he was here was laughable, to be honest with you. And then when he went down to Florida and was around all those players and
Yeah.
basically was one of their leading scorers, kind of proved that he still has plenty of gas left in the tank. So I feel good for him. I love Claude. I loved watching him for a decade and a half. And, it'll be interesting to see how he does out there. I won't be rooting for him when they play the Flyers, but most of the other time I will be.
What was it like broadcasting during the pandemic? Because I know it was different because you didn't get to go with the team on a lot of the trips, which you
Yeah, it
usually
was
do in the
different
past.
in so many ways. It was kind of stages, Matt. I mean, first we were doing games in the arena empty,
Yeah,
and they brought us down to a lower level. So it didn't even feel like the same job, to be honest with you. We weren't even in our booth. We were in a different spot. And then gradually fans came back. We went back to our booth. Then it started feeling, even though that wasn't full, it still felt a little more normal. Last year was pretty close to normal, except we didn't travel for the first half of the year. Road games, we're still doing it off a monitor, and we do the best we can with it.
yeah,
There's no way it's as good as if you're there. There's no way you can be in touch with the team. As much in touch with the team as you are when you're traveling. There's no way you can sense what's happening in the arena when you're doing it off a monitor. You can't see the back referee, which leads to problems when there's a call being made. So there's a lot of little things that add up to, but we do the best we can with the monitor games. I think we're past that. I'm not getting 100% confirmation on that. There may still be some issues up in Canada,
yeah,
but hopefully we're traveling this year to all the games, because to me, I like to dive into a game. I do broadcast coaching, and I go, one of my sessions that I have is on preparation, and I run through with the students my entire prep for a game, and I can see some of them looking at me like, whoa, this is a lot. First of all, as I said earlier, it's not work. I love diving into these games, but I mean, I dive in fully. I want to know everything I can about the other team. Obviously, follow the Flyers on a daily basis. But I want to be as prepared as I can possibly be. So I love to dive into the games. But you can't fully dive into a game if you're not there. So that allows me to do that. You'd be surprised how many good stories I get from players on the airplane. We sit behind the players, so when they're going back to use the restroom and then come back up, they'll tap you in to say hi, and you get into the conversation, and you hear things. Also, obviously, in the room around practices, in the hotel lobbies, you hear this is where you sometimes talk to the players and get stuff.
yeah.
You got to know what you can use and can't, but I mean, so that helps. In general, just being able to dive into it, you can when you're going on the road. So, and for me, I've never been, for my entire life, someone who has worked out of the same office Monday through Friday. I've always done sports, so I've always been traveling. It might have been traveling on a bus once upon a time, but I was still traveling, and I love that I don't do the same thing every day. In fact, it's not that I love that so much as that I cannot stand not doing that. And during the pandemic, we all found out about, being stuck in the same place for a long period of time. I just don't think it's mentally healthy. So for me, it was good to get out, and hopefully we'll be good again to get out on the road. But what during the pandemic, I mean, to say what we did was a sacrifice would be ridiculous, considering what other people did during the pandemic to sacrifice, namely frontline workers and the nurses and doctors and all the people who help protect us that were out there in the middle of the pandemic. Those were the people who sacrificed. What we did is we did our best with our broadcast, tried to hope that we made it as realistic as possible. But certainly will be much better to be out on the road.
You were just talking about diving in, and one of the biggest people that did that just passed away, and that was Vince Scully.
Mm.
We know everything about every player, what their favorite color was. Did you ever get a chance to meet him?
I
And
did. In fact, you can check out my YouTube channel, which is just starting. In fact, it's really the first thing I put up there. I did an interview with Vin back in 2009.
okay,
It was after the Phillies had won the World Series, before they were going to the series that year, and just after Harry Kalas had passed away. And I did a relatively 8-minute interview with him, and I posted it on my YouTube channel. And you can go to my website, jimjacksonbroadcasting.com. You get access to my coaching, Cameo, YouTube, all that stuff. It's all right there
everybody
for
go
you. But
check that out.
yeah, and I put it up, and and listening to it, the guy's passion for what he does or did is just, it comes out with every word he utters. I remember for that interview, and I've interviewed a lot of people with the Phillies. I've interviewed Billie Jean King and Jamie Foxx and Christian Chenoweth. I mean, some big names, and certainly from a sports standpoint, I've interviewed Wayne Gretzky and Ray Bork and Mark Messier and Eric Lindros several times, and in baseball, you name it, Mike Schmidt. I've interviewed some big name people, but I've never been more nervous than I was getting ready to go into Vin's booth to interview him. I was just in awe of the guy. I've always thought he was the best broadcaster. And so to go in there and sit down with him and hear him, call my name, say Jim, it was like, wow, this is unbelievable. So I posted that shortly after he passed away. He lived a long, full life. Oh, could we all be lucky enough to live a life as he did? But it didn't happen by accident. He was so good, and he did, as you say, put so much work into what he did, and it showed. It wasn't just pure talent. He was mega talented, but it wasn't pure talent that got him to where he is. It's always that way, isn't it? I mean, when you think about Jordan, you think about
Kobe.
Sidney Crosby, you think about Jerry Rice, the best of the best in their sports. They obviously are mega talented, but the only reason they get to that very, very, very best of best is because they work their butts off. I mean, their competitive level to be the best is off the charts. And it was for Vin Scully. I mean, as gracious as he was, you can bet that deep down inside him was a burning desire to be considered one of the best in the business. He not only did that, I think on most people's lists, he's the best that's
Yeah.
ever called baseball, and really the best call. I mean, his call of the catch, Joe Montana's pass to Dwight Clark in 1981. The 1981 season might have technically been 1982 when the game took place, but when the Niners beat the Cowboys, kind of a seismic shift in the NFL, went from the Cowboys being America's team, kind of the dynastic team,
49ers.
to the decade of the Niners. And that catch, of course, one of the most famous plays in NFL history. That was his last game on CBS nationally, and he nailed the call. So he was good, and he did golf. He did, he could have probably done hockey. I would have loved to have given, if he was in town, given Vin a period of Flyers hockey and see how it would have sounded. But
Awesome.
just an amazing, amazing announcer, and a better human being. So already missed.
Rest in peace, Vin. We were talking about this right before we came on. What are your thoughts of the Flyers offseason? I know it's been criticized very heavily, but we both agree without injuries this year, Carter Hart playing great, we could be in the playoffs, not a Stanley Cup team, but at least in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, any team that makes the playoffs in the NHL has a shot. It's been proven just 2 years ago. The Montreal Canadiens made it to the finals. I mean, it's more than any other sport, although baseball is getting this way because baseball wasn't meant to have a lot of teams make the playoffs, but they keep adding teams and now it's getting really watered down. And baseball is a very, it's a sport that luck comes into play a lot more than the other sports. And so, I think you're going to see many, many times now in Major League Baseball with the way the playoff system has been rearranged. You're going to see not the best team always winning. Now, it wasn't the case last year, and but I think you're going to see wild card teams win because it's just baseball's not meant for short series. It's meant for a long season, and so the long season to me should mean more than having 6 teams now, I believe, in each league make the playoffs. So, but in hockey, it's been that way for a while. 16 teams used to be 16 out of 21 would make the playoffs. Now it's 16 out of 32, so it's not as easy to make the playoffs. But once you get there, we've seen it a lot. You know, the Kings is an 8 seed, won the Stanley Cup. You can do it. So really, Matt, that should be their only goal: get to the playoffs, and then who knows? Carter Hart gets hot, and you never know. But here's my overall plan, or my overall thinking on the offseason. And I'm being very honest here. I thought the Flyers had about 4 things they need to get done for this coming season in order to be a contender. One was hire the right coach, and I absolutely think they did that with John Tortorella. I love Torts. He was actually the coach when I was telling you about doing ACHL hockey in my very first year of doing hockey. He was in that league. We were in the finals together. His team beat mine in 7 games. He was the coach, a very young coach, but he was the coach of that team, the Virginia Lancers, and they won the. I can't even remember what the cup was called in the ACHL back then.
I think it's the Kelly Cup.
Yeah, I don't think it was the Kelly Cup then.
Not yet. Okay.
No, I don't think it was the ACHL. I don't think it was the Kelly Cup, but whatever it was, they won it. We lost in 7 games. Lots of stories from that one season of doing low-level minor league hockey, let me tell you. But there was Tortorella, and so I get to see him again here as he's now, I think, a future Hall of Fame coach, and I'm on the in the last decade, probably, maybe less than that of my career. So, it's weird how the hockey gods work, but bottom line is, I think he's going to be good. He's going to establish stability. He's going to establish structure defensively. He's going to establish accountability, and he's, I think, the right guy for this job. So check on box number 1. Box number 2 for me is health. I mean, they can't be as banged up as they were last year and even the year before, and have any hope. I mean, seriously, if they are, there's no hope. And I can say that about just about every team in the NHL. I will say the Penguins have shown a remarkable ability to still win, even when they lose Crosby and Malkin and Letang or whoever. But most teams, when they lose their top defenseman or one of their top defensemen, their 2 top centers for the whole year almost, I mean, it's pretty much going to end their playoff hopes. But beyond that, they lost almost 500 man games to injury last year. So they've got to be healthier. Let's hope the hockey gods are at least going to help there. Now, I'm not really happy with what I've seen so far in the summer. Farabee, Brink, and Ellis, not really great news on any of them. So in that regard, I'm a little concerned, but I got to think they're going to be healthier than last year. So I will get a pencil check mark on that one. Then the third one was going to be the younger players taking a bigger bite out of the team. And by younger, I'm talking about anybody 25, 26 and younger. So this includes Travis Konechny and Ivan Provorov and Travis Sanheim. They have to take a bigger bite. Sanheim certainly did last year. I think Provorov and Konechny have to get back on the right path. And then even more so, the Cam Yorks, the Joel Farabees when he's healthy, the Noah Cates. These players have to take a big bite and really jump in next year. And I think under Tortorella, they're going to do that. So I'm going to put a check on that one too. The fourth one, though, they need, I think, and needed back then to add some frontline talent. Now, Chuck Fletcher said this at the end of last year, that they needed more frontline talent. So I thought they were going to address it. And they did a little with Tony DeAngelo. I am a Tony DeAngelo fan as a hockey player. I'm not going to get into the off the ice stuff, but as a player, he is going to help the Flyers. There's no question in my mind he's going to be a better power play quarterback than they had on the team last year. So I think he will help. But I was thinking more about frontline talent up front because they did trade Claude Giroux late last year and never replaced him. And I thought Johnny Gaudreau was a perfect player to do that. They would have had to have made a lot of moves to get the money to do it. They couldn't figure out a way to do that It's possible people were just holding them for a king's ransom. I don't know. We don't know the answers to that, but they didn't get that done. So that box didn't get checked for me. Maybe a tad of a check, a smudge,
Yeah.
because they did add D'Angelo, but that wasn't really what I had in mind. I was thinking more about upfront elite talent, because I do believe they're going to be better defensively this year. But how, I don't know, is if they have enough firepower up front, enough creativity even up front to to be able to score enough goals to win consistently. They're probably going to need a guy like Tyson Forster or somebody to really surprise us and emerge quicker than expected to be able to add to that offensive talent up front. But so they checked most of the boxes, Matt, but they didn't quite do as much as I thought they were going to do. So we'll see. I do think they'll be improved. I think Tortorella by and of himself is going to improve them. I think they'll be a little healthier, so that will improve them. And I do think the younger players are going to be more noticeable and in bigger roles and be able to thrive under Tortorella. So I think given that, they'll be a better team. And yes, I think that puts them certainly in position to contend for a playoff spot. And as I said, once you get into the playoffs, all bets are off. Anything can happen.
I got one last question for you. It's a multi-part question. You worked for the Phillies, so you obviously been around a lot of the current team. What went wrong with Girardi?
Yeah.
What's basically going right with Thompson? And what is your expectations for the last part of this season and the playoffs? Because I think this team can make a run, especially with
Yeah,
Harper coming
I
back.
the Girardi question's a mystery to me. He's a very good baseball man. It's possible he micromanaged. I mean, you hear that I'm not around it now anymore, but it's possible that maybe he was just micromanaging a little too much and that the team didn't react well to that. I will say this, and I hate to rain on your parade, but a lot of it is scheduled.
Yeah,
The Phillies, since Rob Thompson took over, have played a bunch of games against the worst teams in baseball. They are now in a current stretch of 22 consecutive games, starting with the first game of the Red Series, against teams that are way below 500, outside of the Giants, who are just a little below 500.
yeah,
All the other teams are well below 500. I mean, they should go and probably will go on a run here and maybe get back into contention to climb out of the second wild card spot, although the Braves and Mets aren't really cooperating too much. But but I'm still concerned. They got destroyed by the Mets. They broke even with the Braves. I know they won this one series with the Dodgers, but I don't know as if they can hang with the Dodgers in a 7-game series. And even the Cardinals now really look good to me. So I'm not, I mean, when they played them, they certainly handled them.
yeah.
But I'm not sure now whether they'll handle them. If Pujols is this hot come playoff time, I don't think anybody handles them. But so the bottom line is, I think some of it is scheduling. I love Rob Thompson. I got to know him. He's a great human being. It's a great opportunity for him. He's pushed the right buttons. He doesn't, get in the guys' grills too much. He basically lets them do what they want to do. They're going to have some issues with their bullpen now with some of these recent injuries. But they're going to make the playoffs, which is step number one. They haven't done that since 2011. And then it's a 3-game series, So again, baseball's not made for 3 games. I hate this. I hate the new system, by the way. I much rather have it. You get in as wild card and it's a 1-game thing. You don't deserve any favors as a wild card team. It's about winning the division. Now winning the division is such a mild. There's not even a reward for it if you're the one team that wins the
Yeah.
division. You still have to play in a best of 3. So I don't like it at all. But now it's best of 3, and maybe against the Braves, they could win that, and then they're going to have to handle the Mets of the Dodgers. So, I mean, I'm not confident they can win either of those series, but it's baseball. Short series, anything can happen. They're certainly going to have to be more successful with Wheeler and Nola pitching than they have been. While those two have pitched okay, they aren't winning games when they pitch. So they got to do that come playoff time for sure. But it'll be nice to have playoff baseball here. I'll feel great for Rhys Hoskins finally he's such a great guy. Aaron Nola, who I consider a friend. It's too bad for Zach Eflin getting hurt because he's another guy that I really like that's a part of that mix. And Rob Thompson, and Bryce Harper, who treated me great. I love Bryce. I don't know that many more of them, though, to be honest. Eugene Segura, a little bit. I met Alex Bohm, but there's a lot of guys there that weren't there. I've interviewed Stott when he was drafted and things, but I don't know them that well. So it's not like JT a little bit, the Real Muto, but it's not like I know them as I knew the team the teams, the Utley, Rollins, Howard teams. Those guys are buds. I mean, those guys I was around, and they brought me so many thrills, and it's not close to that. But for Reese, it'll be great, and Aaron Nola getting to experience playoff baseball.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me. It's an absolute honor. I've been listening to you since I've been a kid, so to be able to interview
Well,
was an
you're
honor.
still a kid, aren't you? Come on, you're still a kid, right?
Kinda. Thank you for the compliment.
We're
But
all kids. We're all kids at heart, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Do you have anything you want to promote? You were telling about.
It's just, yeah, my website. It's easy to remember, jimjacksonbroadcasting.com. And you go there and you'll see I do voiceover work, I do broadcast coaching, I do Cameo, I'm just starting a YouTube channel that I'm just going to put stuff up once in a while. I'm not like a serious big time daily YouTube channel person. But I think once the hockey season rolls around, I might, when I have a thought on a Flyers game or something, just pop a video on there or something. Right now it's the Vin Scully interview. And then and what else? My Twitter's on there and all that. But really, the broadcast coaching is something I really like to push, because I started it once the Phillies let me go in fall of 2020, and I've just loved it. I've had a chance to work with upwards of 50 to 55 people, and I can't say kids because they range from 12 to 59 in age. And it's people who want to get into play-by-play, want to get into anchoring, want to get into sideline reporting, podcasting, talk show hosting, any form of sports broadcasting. I give you 3 1-hour one-on-one sessions with me where I tailor make it to whatever you are aiming for. And then once you do the program, you can consider me your mentor for life, or for however long you want me to be your mentor. And you can reach out to me at any time. And it's just been great. Some of the people that I met in the early stages have already moved on, and had some success in their career. It's great. It's just an awesome thing. So jimjacksonbroadcasting.com, and then you would just click on the broadcast coaching button.
Everybody go check that out. Jim Jackson, everyone. Thank you so